Hello and welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
Well, happy Easter, everybody. We're recording this on Easter Sunday.
Happy Easter, guys.
Had the egg hunt with the kiddos and hung out with some friends and had a few brewskis.
Nice. That's a good Easter right there. That's what you should hope for on Easter. A nice, relaxed Easter. You know,
it's an underrated holiday.
In the yard. It's
just because of the time of year. It's underrated because it's like right as spring hits, and it always seems like it's a beautiful day on Easter, and it's kind of like it's exciting. Like, all right, warm weather coming and
That's
nice
true.
weather, and trees are budding and birds are chirping. And
yeah, they did that shit on purpose. They wouldn't have put Easter in like November. People would be like, fuck Easter. You know, I'm not even thankful for Easter.
Right.
Yeah, they wouldn't appreciate Easter if it wasn't for the springtime. That's for sure. Like I said, there's a reason it's there. You got to spread those holidays out, man. You know, commercialism.
That's right. Well, this week we've got a case that has been a long time coming. It's my favorite true crime documentary. We were asked the question on Patreon on our Just the Banter podcast,
right?
By one of the listeners, what was our favorite true crime podcast? And the one that sticks out to me is Dear Zachary.
Dear Zachary.
This documentary is the most memorable watching experience that I've had. The most emotional. This is going to be the most heart-wrenching True Crime Guys episode probably you've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do it half as well as the documentary, then I would think so, because that is without a doubt the most heart-wrenching thing I've ever watched. Dude, like, I was tired.
Part of this,
crying.
doing this episode was just forcing Michael to watch it finally.
Yeah, well,
that's what it was about.
Achieved. And I'm glad I did. I should have listened to you from the beginning. I really should have. But it was.
I've been saying this for
doubt.
years. You know, you just have to keep finding out the hard way.
That's just how I am, bro. I'm hard-headed. Sometimes it comes in handy, sometimes it don't. But my wife, I was talking to her about it today, and she before we even started talking about it, she's like, listen, she's like, did you cry pretty much the entire time? I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, I thought so. She's like, me too. She's like, I thought I was just being like overly emotional for some reason.
Oh, so you guys didn't watch it together, or did you?
No, we did, but we were so engrossed.
Oh, you're just like turning away?
No, we're just like watching the thing, you know? We're just watching the TV. We just got engrossed in it. It's that type of documentary. And plus, when I'm watching a documentary for the podcast, hey, man, I'm focused, right? It's work time. We can Netflix and chill later, girl. It's work time.
Right. Right. Put on some Tiger King and get freaky later, but right now it's study time.
That's right. Got to get your priorities in line.
That's right. All right, so let's dive into this thing, man. Prepare to, be sad, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a good one, though.
Yeah, you'll definitely be sad some. All right, we'll see you on the other side, guys.
When you get horrifying, traumatic, life-altering news, so normally you feel one thing at a time. You feel happy, you're sad, hungry, cold, hot, whatever. But you suddenly are feeling every emotion at maximum volume. It's like taking a television and turning up all the knobs to maximum, and you just have this wall of color. And you don't know, you're feeling everything at once, and you don't know what you're feeling anymore because you've never experienced that before. And so that's kind of what a movie's a movie, but I tried the best that I could to communicate what that felt like, or just what it felt like to be there, what it felt like, just in the way I put it together. It was my best attempt to, put you in our shoes. I cannot emphasize this enough. This movie frightened and disturbed me more than any horror film I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, it's interesting because it's not intended as such, but the events of what happened on a day-to-day basis were completely horrifying.
Just one more question. I don't want this to sound weird or like spiritual or whatever. I'm just wondering, have you felt like Andrew's spirit around this, like at any instance, like that you can feel that he's okay with? I don't.
He's okay.
Like he's okay with this, and with what you're doing, and like you've kind of felt like just maybe a moment or something where you got the feeling that.
I want to say yes, but I'm not sure I can give you specific examples. The biggest thing for me that has been great about this whole process is that because as you can see when you see the finished movie, I basically kind of finished the movie for his parents in a way, and put it out publicly for them. And so it's been really wonderful to go to all these festivals with them and just see the audience just give them standing ovations, like just embrace them afterward. Just the volumes of emails that have been coming in. So I think it's been really, a wonderful experience for them to be heard and to be paid attention to, and also to have people validate their pain and what they went through. And one thing I said, Andrew was such a social creature with more friends in far-flung places than anybody I've ever known, that it's just like him to be making thousands of more friends 7 years after his death. Which I think is really is really cool that he's been gone for so long, from the earth, but people are still right now getting to meet him, every week that the movie shows at a new festival when it comes out. So. There's been a few things that have happened that have just been kind of I don't know if I can really talk about specifically.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to get too personal.
But just things that just sort of have kind of magically come together effortlessly that just feel kind of guided in some way. That has happened a little bit. Yeah.
Oh.
You have to go.
Yeah,
okay. No problem. Sure. So, I guess. And even before I actually was really shooting the movie in earnest, there have been other things that have happened in my life that just, happened in such a way that it just sort of felt like there was more going on there than just happenstance, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It's hard to describe, but short answer is yeah.
Okay. Then I guess we'll wrap it up with that.
Indeed.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, for our case this week, we watched Dear Zachary, A Letter to a Son About His Father. It's a documentary that was released in 2008, true crime documentary, obviously, chocked full of moida. But it was different. It was vastly different than any other true crime documentary I've seen, and I think that any other true crime documentary that exists. It was not intended to be a true crime documentary. Let's just put it that way.
And that's what changed the entire course of it.
Yes.
It changed the way it was perceived, and it also made it more vulnerable, especially at the beginning. Mm-hmm. When you figure out why this documentary was made, which was, for the son of a victim of a crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this documentary was written and produced and edited and directed by a man named Kurt Kenne, who was the best friend of Andrew Bagby, a man that was murdered. And this documentary was supposed to just be basically a video scrapbook for friends and family of Andrew Bagby, his best friend. This Kurt Kenne had been a movie maker, filmmaker, since he was a child, and his best friend Andrew Bagby had starred in many of his movies. And so
they're pretty awesome too. You get to see a lot of those clips in the documentary, and it really gives you some insight into the chemistry that these guys had.
Exactly,
they had a lot of fun.
And so when his best friend Andrew Bagby was murdered, he decided to go on a quest. He decided to make basically a movie for Andrew's family and friends, like I said, and to go around, and he had a long list of people to meet all over the world and interview. To get to know Andrew more, and also to just share stories about Andrew. And then this film took on another life. It kind of started as one thing, and then it became something else because some more stuff happens. We don't want to give away too much. But in this documentary, or this movie that he was making, Kurt decided to interview numerous relatives, friends, and associates of Andrew Bagby and incorporate their loving embraces into a film that would serve as a cinematic scrapbook for the son who never knew him. And I say that because this thing takes on a new life later on, because at the time that Andrew Bagby was murdered, he didn't know it, but he would have been a father within 7 months, 6-7 months from the time he was murdered.
I believe so.
Yeah, he had a kid on the way, and he didn't realize it. And so this film became not just a scrapbook for his family, but it became basically the story of Andrew for his child that was going to be coming.
Right. I mean, what a gift, man, to give to a child when he comes of age at 18. what a gift to be able to give them. Like, this is who your father was. This is the DNA inside you. This is the type of, and it gives people the confidence, even if they don't share those things genetically. It's like, oh, my dad was always so charismatic, and confident, so I should be. That's where I get it from.
Yep.
Things like that can instill great things in people in the future.
Yeah.
That's an amazing gift.
Yeah, and so Kurt, he like I said, he went everywhere because Andrew had been everywhere. He had touched so many lives. He was a pretty special dude. I don't
think Kurt had any idea.
Right. No, yeah, he learned so much about. He thought he knew everything about his best friend, and he learned so much about him that he didn't know.
Years.
Yeah. And so, Dear Zachary began as a project only to be shown to friends and family of Andrew, as we mentioned. However, as the events unfolded, Kurt decided to release the film publicly eventually, and it ended up winning some film festival awards, and it currently has like a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's as we mentioned, it's an incredible film.
It really is.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Andrew Bagby, the man who was murdered, the subject of this film. Dr. Andrew Bagby was born September 25th, 1973 in Wichita, Kansas. I say shout out, I guess, to BTK, who that was his stomping grounds, but fuck BTK because he's a douchebag.
Yeah.
But Andrew Bagby is a much better representation.
Creepers.
Yeah, Kansas City Creepers.
Again.
Yeah. Andrew Bagby was born in Wichita, but he ended up being raised in California. But he shared a birthday with Will Smith, Mark Hamill, and Michael Douglas. Quite a group.
What a crew, man.
Will Smith stands out amongst those, I'd say.
Oh, of
the
course.
Most accomplished.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most accomplished, most well-known, most versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Definitely.
doubt. Guys that movies that he's done.
Yeah.
He is legend, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Yep.
He's he kind of broke barriers being one of the first black male leads in many films. You didn't see that a whole lot until Will Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and Will Smith has made it so regular, it's just like, oh yeah, it's Will Smith.
Right.
Like, you don't even think about it. It's like, oh yeah, of course, Will Smith. What a great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so versatile, man. He's talented, to say the least.
Yeah, so Andrew,
charismatic, a lot like Andrew.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Like life of the party type person.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere they go, it's like, can you imagine the people that have good things to say about Will Smith? Andrew Bagby, on a much smaller scale, was living this life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He affected people a lot like him.
Yeah, so Andrew Bagby, raised in California, he was the only child, the beloved only child to David and Kathleen Bagby. Just an incredible couple. These people were salt of the earth, the Bagbys.
They were.
And we'll talk much
Absolutely.
more about them as we go through this. Andrew grew up in Sunnyvale near San Jose in Silicon Valley in California. And he met his best friend Kurt, who made this film about him in first grade, and they were thick as thieves ever since, creating films together. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, one of Andrew's many friends, though, as we come to find out, he was the perpetual best man. He was like everybody's best man. He was that kind of guy.
Right.
Much footage in the documentary of him doing speeches as best man at weddings and things like that.
Oh, yeah, there's like a compilation of guys saying, he was the best man at my wedding, best man at my wedding. Yeah, best man at my wedding.
Yeah, if I was going to get married, he was going to be my best man.
He was going to be my best man. Right. Yeah, exactly.
And Andrew, his mother was from England, actually, and he spent many summers in England, and he had family and friends there as well, as he did all over the world. He was, by all accounts, a very special person. He was outgoing, likable, and loyal. Among the many friends that were interviewed throughout the course of this documentary by Kurt were Chris, Matt, Sean, Olivier, Michelle, John, Pete, and Heather. Heather sticks out as she was in a very serious relationship with Andrew for a while, and they had a hard breakup, and it seemed to affect him greatly. It seemed to affect his confidence, and it may have played a role in what happened to him ultimately. I don't think it's not Heather's fault, but it did seem to shake his confidence a bit, and he ended up with a person that he could have done better than.
Right,
clearly.
and that's not strange. That's not a weird response. That's so typical.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so many people do this when they go through a hard breakup, especially if they're the one that got dumped.
Mm-hmm.
Your confidence
find a
is going to
rebound.
take a hit. You find a rebound, right? I mean, this is typical. This is not like he just made some terribly poor life decision. He was just in a vulnerable situation,
Right.
and somebody came in at just the right time.
Yep. Yep. Andrew was very dedicated, young man. He made Eagle Scout by 15. Very impressive feat.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I think
I'd say the average age is probably like 18 to 20.
it takes a long time. You got to accomplish a lot of crap. You got to hit a lot of the. You got to
think
get a lot of them
that's sticking with
badges and things like that.
Yeah.
You got to know how to tie a lot of knots and know how to make a fire and all that crap.
Yeah, I think that's stuff they do. Right? Learn how to cook moss. I don't really know.
Right. Learn how to cook a frog if you have to.
Right. Oh, I think I could cook a frog if I had to. I eat some frog
in the
legs,
wilderness.
man. I'll tear some frog legs up.
Yeah. You ever had? Have you eaten frog legs? Are they good?
I have. Yes.
They're good.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh.
I mean, you season something right. I mean, you season it right. Anything can be good. You know what I mean? So these were.
That's not what I'm
seasoned.
asking. I'm asking if it's good. I'm not asking if you could make it good by seasoning the shit out of it.
I'm saying the ones that I ate were delicious.
All right.
How about that?
I feel like that's such a southern thing. Like, I don't see too many people eating frog legs out in Vegas.
Nah, probably not. I don't know. They got them at them bars, man. I mean, at the casinos, the buffets and stuff.
Do they?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I had some at like Red Rock Casino.
Oh, okay. I have to check that
you just
out.
ain't looking for it. Yeah.
All right.
You got to look for them, man. They kind of look like little thin chicken legs, chicken wings.
Mm-hmm.
They don't got that much meat on them, but they're good. They're like little snack foods.
I didn't see this conversation going in this direction.
Me either. Let's get back on track. You want to? It's a freebie.
Maybe we'll talk frog legs on Just the Banter soon.
Crime line. Yeah, let's hop back on the old crime line.
All right. So some of the things Kurt didn't know about his friend that he learned throughout the course of interviewing all these people and filming this documentary, throughout his 22 years of friendship, he never learned that Andrew was really into photography and had like a bunch of photos. And this was something that Kurt made a mission to uncover, is some of his photography. And he was very good at that as well. They showed a lot of the photos in the documentary, nature photos and things like that. They were good.
Yeah, that struck me as odd that he didn't know about his photography, especially since they made so many videos and
films
stuff
together.
Like you did so much videography, but no
maybe it says something once again about Andrew's character, and that he didn't want to bring it up because his buddy was a filmmaker, like, oh, I'm into photography. Kind of steal that thunder from him type of thing, Seem
That's
needy
true. It did
about
seem
it.
like-
Just kept it to himself.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess Kurt kind of took the lead in that relationship because their main focus was on film and whatnot and making movies, videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Andrew would end up getting into medical school. He would apply for several schools, and he would get into medical school in Newfoundland Island in Canada. Newfoundland. So he would end up going to medical school in Canada. That's
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. He was that type
This guy's
of
been
guy.
all over.
Any
Yeah, he
new
doesn't
challenge.
care.
Yeah. However, while in medical school, he met someone that changed everything. He met a woman named Shirley Turner. She was 12 years his senior. She was 40, and he was 28 at the time. They were both going to medical school. She was twice divorced, had 3 kids with 3 different men before she met Andrew. Quite the history. And all of a sudden, classmates and friends noticed that this woman, Shirley, was just always around. They didn't really know how they had started dating, but she was just always around, always hanging all over him, and according to them, acting inappropriate. She was the type that would lick his face in public, and just the footage, you can see it. I mean, the footage of them when they're like on dance floors at weddings and things like that. Yeah. She's just really just coming on strong. We'll say that.
Yeah, it seems a little bit excessive, and especially for Andrew and his crowd.
Yeah,
they seemed a little more reserved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
a lot of the people that were interviewed were like, "Whoa!" They were just not only appalled, but they were just disgusted almost.
I think if it hadn't persisted for so long, maybe you could just chalk it up to nerves. She's going into a new group of friends, and maybe she just doesn't really. The nerves just made her act a little funny. I think we've all been guilty of that from time to time. But this was just persistent, very. I wouldn't say protective, but very jealous as well. Like very protective of him, and like not letting anyone near him. Like he's mine. That type of behavior.
Especially the ex.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the ex Heather got some remarks her way from this new girl.
Yeah.
And so they have this relationship, and I think at least Andrew viewed this as sort of a senior year thing, something to take the edge off of medical school. They had all this pressure on them, and he had, gone through this rough breakup with Heather, and she's this fun rebound, and it's a distraction. It's a distraction. I think he made it clear to her that he was not looking for anything serious. Shirley, however, I think maybe even if she said that's how it was going to be, she was not that type of person.
She didn't get it.
Yeah, she didn't know how to move on. She was very possessive over him. And so when they graduated from medical school, Andrew moved on to Syracuse, New York to do a surgery residency, and Shirley moved on to Iowa. However, his year-long residency in Syracuse was just miserable. He hated every minute of it. He would come to find out that surgery was not for him. That was not the type of medicine that he wanted to be in. And Shirley, however, would constantly still be calling him, writing to him, and coming to visit him. She would make the very long trek to come see him constantly. And I think at the time he was in a lonely place. He was alone in Syracuse. He was doing this residency, and she was, once again, a nice distraction for him.
Right. I think most of the time he welcomed the company.
Yeah.
Like you said, being in a new city, it was nice to see a familiar face, especially a new city that you hate, doing something that you hate. Mm-hmm. I think Syracuse was just too big of a city for him at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, and so by the end of that year, as we said, he had realized that surgery was not for him, and he would move on to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and switch to a family practice residency in 2001. And
that's more his style.
He would
more personal.
Fall in love with this small town and with the family practice lifestyle. He wanted to be that doctor in a small town that everybody came to and trusted, and was like a member of your family, of everyone's family in a small town. This was for him. He finally realized why he had done all this and gone through medical school was for this type of life. And Latrobe,
perfect character for that.
Latrobe, we found out in the documentary, has some interesting things. They're the home of Rolling Rock beer.
They are.
What else was it? There was a few other things.
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer, that's right.
Arnold Palmer was born there.
Yeah.
Something else, man. There's something else that one of the people interviewed said, we're the birthplace of such and such. And then she said, unofficially, and I was like, throw it out. Trashed it, because apparently I can't remember.
It was something really big, right? It was something really big enough that they couldn't really claim that.
Yeah, but then she said unofficially, and I was just like, no, I don't know if that's why I can't remember it, but I seriously can't remember what it is. But definitely Rolling Rock and Arnold Palmer. So Mr. Rogers, bro.
Oh,
Mr.
that's
Rogers.
right, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yep. Yeah, that Mr. Rogers is the definite. That's not the unofficial one.
My neighbor.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, though. I mean, that's pretty big things for such a small town, USA.
Yeah. I mean, you are the small town when you're Mr. Rogers town. You know what I mean?
You are the small town. That's right. You're not just a small town. Right. You are the small town. You are the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so Andrew is there.
Latrobe.
Andrew is now in Latrobe, and he's doing his residency at a family practice and loving life. And this new life was kind of a clean slate, new start, and this didn't involve Shirley. He was trying to leave her behind, but he wasn't the most direct. He wasn't good at being an asshole. And I'm not sure breaking up with someone is being an asshole, I guess, but I guess he just didn't want to hurt her feelings. He didn't want to hurt her.
Well,
and he wasn't as direct as he should have been, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needed that. She needed someone more direct. She was going to take advantage of any inconsistency or any hesitation that he showed.
Any crack in the door, she was going to open it.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And so he's kind of trying to ignore her at this time while he's in Latrobe, and he's obviously busy and whatnot. And as he always viewed their relationship as not being a long-term thing anyway. And so when he moved to Latrobe, she was a thing of the past as far as he was concerned, but she was not about to let that happen. She was not ready to move on from Andrew. She was still very possessive of him. And on October 20th, 2001, Andrew was the best man yet again at one of his friends' weddings. And
imagine that
he had invited Shirley to accompany him to this wedding back in July. This is now October, and this was before he had decided that their thing needed to be done. And he was kind of in a pickle.
Probably forgot by now.
Yeah.
It's probably fine.
Yeah, he was in kind of a pickle, though, because Shirley, this was the opening she needed. He had invited her. And he couldn't take that back now. And so she was in town to go to this wedding with him. And next thing you know, they're seen on footage on the dance floor together.
He could have totally took that back, though.
Yeah, right. You could take the invitation back.
I mean, yeah, man. Some people are so scared to cancel plans at like a certain time or whatever. It's like, no, you can cancel or make plans whenever you want. So it's really your life.
That's true.
You know?
That's
I mean, it's your life.
Yeah.
But
Andrew was just too nice of a guy, man. He couldn't hurt her feelings like that, I guess.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, she's going to show up, so you're literally going to have to.
It's going to be an awkward
physically
scene.
Avoid her.
Record scratch on the dance floor.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
God forbid he's dancing with his ex Heather when she walks in. Oh boy.
Oh shit.
That would not be good. Yeah. Be a broken wine glass in her neck.
Dude, I was going to say the same thing.
Were you?
I was thinking broken wine glass as soon as I could just picture her come in, just fucking hair a mess, and just grabs a wine glass, breaks it on the table, starts running at her.
Yep. The neck of the wine glass, if you break that top cup part off, man, that's a pretty lethal weapon.
That is. If you're ever in a pinch at a wedding, guys, there you go.
Exactly. Don't say we didn't tell you.
That's right.
We're not culpable in this, though.
No. We don't play.
But you're welcome. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, at this wedding, they were seen together, and she would end up staying with him for like the next 2 weeks. And on November 3rd, 2001, Andrew would finally pull the Band-Aid off and break up with Shirley at the airport and send her back to Iowa, which was over 1,000 miles away. And I'm sure the relief he felt as he left that airport was grand, you know, because this, I'm sure, just been weighing on him.
You know it, dude.
That's the way to do it. That was a smart way, you know. Send her off, you know, right as she's getting off the plane, break it off.
There you go.
However,
as she's getting on the plane.
Yeah. However, you know, as you know, we're doing this podcast right now for a reason, because it didn't end there.
Damn it!
It was a bit of Jodi Arias to this, Shirley. Quite a bit.
A bit?
Yeah. It's a good thing he didn't have a doggy door. Let's just put it that way.
Good thing he didn't have what?
Like I said, it's a good thing he didn't have a doggy door, because he would have woke up with her standing over his bed.
No doubt. No doubt, man.
Yeah. So he's
coming through that thing.
So he breaks it off and sends her on the plane back to Iowa. And 2 days later, at 5 a.m., he gets a knock at his door back in old Iowa. Back in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. He gets a knock at his door, and it's Shirley. And so she essentially had taken the flight home and almost immediately gotten in a car and driven all the way back. And no lag time between, because this was a long drive. He said I think it's like 1,300 miles or something from where she was in Iowa.
18 hours, wasn't it? Somewhere around 18 hours?
It was more than half a day.
Of a hike. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a bit weird, and it freaked his buddy and colleague out, a guy named Clark that he worked with at the family practice. When Andrew told him that he'd broken up with her, sent her home, and she was already back at his door, he warned him. He told Andrew, look, dude, do not meet with this woman in private. If you meet with her, meet her in a public place. This was a phone conversation that was going down on November 5th, 2001.
Right.
Andrew called him and told him what had happened, and he was supposed to go meet with Shirley right after their phone call ended. And they decided that after he went and met with Shirley, that they would meet at Clark's house to talk this whole thing over with some beers that evening on November 5th, 2001. So he hangs up with Clark, and later that evening, Clark doesn't get a visit from his buddy. They don't have the beers together, and he said in the documentary, one thing about Andrew was that he was never late for anything. And so he became quite concerned when that happened, and even more so the next morning when he didn't show up to work. When Andrew did not show up to work on November 6, 2001, he was more than concerned. He was honestly convinced that something had happened to his friend. He left a voicemail at his house saying, I'm coming to your house right now. I'm going to pound on the door. You better answer. His car was not at the house when he got there. And then they got word that a man in medical scrubs had been killed at Keystone Park. And state police would arrive shortly thereafter to their medical practice to inform them that the man that had been killed was in fact their friend Andrew. And
in hindsight, it seems like Andrew was just being naive and gullible. But I mean, who really thinks that someone's going to go to this extent?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Especially someone who at this point put off such a demeanor as Shirley did. Like she was strange, yes, but she didn't never seem dangerous.
Right. He didn't give her any.
You know what I
I don't
mean?
think he gave her any reason for her to show those signs of a dangerous person, because Lord knows the ex-boyfriends that she had saw them, and we know that for a fact.
Right.
Saw some very scary signs. I think Andrew just kind of went along with everything with her. She was seemed to be the more forward person in their relationship, and he was just having fun with it.
She was the more experienced person in general.
Yes.
Being 40 years old. I mean, him only being 28 years old, so naturally she's going to take the lead.
Yeah, and he didn't give her any reasons to be jealous and things like that, or to, for her to have these violent outbursts. And so when his buddy, when his buddy Clark told him, like, dude, you need to be concerned, he kind of laughed, like, are you like, really? You think so? And, that's when he said, well, maybe we should talk about this later and you can break this down for me. Like, I don't see why I should be so concerned. Right. And, Clark was wise to tell him this. However, it was unfortunate that he couldn't prevent him from going to meet with Shirley just after that phone conversation.
Right.
Because Andrew would be found face down in the parking lot at Keystone Park behind his Toyota Corolla. He had been shot 5 times, once in the face, once in the chest, twice in the buttocks, and once in the back of the head with a .22 caliber pistol.
Obvious to see this was personal.
Yes. And
I mean, multiple shots to the buttocks and
yes,
point blank to the head. This is just so personal.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't in the butt cheek either. It seemed, because there was some aerial views and some kind of pictures in the documentary of him laying there, and it seemed like it was accurately directed, into the buttocks. It was a very personal, kind of demeaning thing to do to someone.
Absolutely. It was meant to send a message.
Mm-hmm. And so when the police came to the office, Clark told them right away, like, you don't have to look far for who did this. And he explained that, someone was in town that would have reason to want to harm him. And he had warned Andrew about this person, and this person was Shirley. And when the police called her and talked to her, they found out that she had just recently purchased a .22 pistol, coincidentally. And her story was that she couldn't find it. She had misplaced this pistol, and that she had called in to work sick on the day that Andrew was murdered, also coincidentally. But she was, in fact, in Iowa, according to her.
Right, but not with Andrew, of course.
No.
Don't be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but I'll look for that gun for you.
Yeah, I'll get that right over to you.
See what I can find.
Now, it would take some time, but the police would track the cell phone towers that were pinging off of Shirley's cell phone, and they would prove that she was not in Iowa like she said she was. That she was, in fact, in the day leading up to Andrew's murder, the day prior, she had been driving from Iowa to Pennsylvania. They saw calls come in each state on her way to Pennsylvania from Iowa, and then following the murder calls. She was still calling Andrew to try and cover her ass, basically. She even left a creepy voicemail saying, like, hey, I'm just checking in on you. I love you. After she had killed him. Man. Once again, very Jodi Arias. Very Jodi Arias.
Yes. And she really doesn't understand cell phones at all, man, how they work or anything.
Right.
Like, wow, you're texting them and calling them the whole time on the way there. So every single time it's sending a ping. You know what I'm saying?
This was 2001. I think this thing, I don't know how many people understood cell phone tracing on towers and things like that back then. Cell phones were still pretty new at the time, but it took time too as well, because it was 2001. They had to manually go to each tower. I don't know how that works.
It took like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she had time to run.
Yep, and she did. And so, feeling the pressure, she would flee back to Newfoundland, where she had gone to college, where she had met Andrew. And this would cause all sorts of problems, and that's where this case, part 2 of it, essentially. I mean, we're going to keep recording the same episode, but this thing flips again, and it goes into a whole other realm. And the fact that she runs to Canada, it creates all these issues, because now she has to be extradited. And it's just not that easy. We see it takes a long time, and especially when it seems like the courts are on your side, it takes even longer. And people can get hurt because they just keep letting her out.
Yes.
So yeah, Andrew's parents were just devastated when they heard that their son had been killed. They were interviewed throughout this documentary, and you just grow to love these people and really feel for them. Their son was everything to them. That was their whole life, and they were very honest in the moment when they talked about finding out that their son had been murdered. They said their plan was to fly out there to Pennsylvania, get his body, bring it back to California, have the services, the funeral, and then kill themselves because they had no reason to live anymore. And
wow.
Yeah.
And you gotta understand that. I mean, as a parent, imagine losing all of your children.
Yeah.
I mean,
they only had one, and they'd put everything into him, and they were so proud of him and what he'd become, and they were so looking forward to, grandkids and, the rest of his life and seeing what he could accomplish, and then it was stolen from them.
He was an amazing, amazing person too, man.
Yeah.
He did such a great job. And through him met so many people. And we're, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're then enriched through him in multiple ways, which they found out through this documentary.
Yeah.
Which was pretty incredible as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and they knew that Shirley was responsible for this as well. They heard of the evidence against her and whatnot, and they knew that she had fled to Newfoundland. And there would be several services held for Andrew in different cities, one in California, one in Pennsylvania, even one in Newfoundland, where he had gone to college and met Shirley. And in Newfoundland, at the funeral, Shirley had the gall to attend, and of course made a scene, crying hysterically. We've seen this behavior before. Despicable to show up and then to steal the thunder and try to make it all about you as well. Just says a lot about her.
If you're accused of a murder, do not show up at the funeral. If you're just accused, just don't.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, as much as it's not going to help to show how much you care for that person. It's just not going to work. It never gets perceived that way. It's like in every case we've ever seen where the killer shows up to the funeral, it's just awful. It's either for selfish reasons, you know what I mean,
or just to kind of try and show that you're not doing anything out of the norm, that you're doing what you would do if you were innocent.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true too. But it never works out that way, does it?
No.
It never seems like it's perceived that way.
No. Yeah, and Andrew's parents, at their service in California that they held, they actually, thought it'd be a good idea to invite Shirley because that would mean she would have to come to the U.S. where then they could have her arrested for the murder.
Yeah, come on over here, Shirley.
Just avoid the whole extradition process altogether. Just convince her to fly out and set this trap. And she didn't take the bait, unfortunately. She was aware of what they were trying to do and didn't fall for it. She stayed put in Newfoundland where they would take care of her. The law system there would just kind of, just let her off the hook over and over again. So why not?
It's almost like Shirley knows a little bit about the law system, huh?
Seems like she knew a little bit about how Newfoundland would treat her.
Yeah, she knows how to work it pretty well.
Yeah.
She does, indeed.
So she would be, in fact, arrested in Newfoundland, however, on December 12th, 2001, and spend a whopping several hours in jail before being released. They would let her out on bail the same day after she posted $75,000 bail, which $65,000 of it was put up by her psychiatrist. So $10,000 is what she had to put up, supposedly. And if you listen to people close to this, they would tell you in the documentary that none of this money was even real and none of it was actually even put up. It was all just phony.
I guess it was like promises.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how much they let you promise and get out of jail in Newfoundland. It's insane. I mean,
it's bizarre. I hope that a lot of this has changed, and that we find out later that a lot did change because of this case. And that's one good thing that can happen in true crime. When there's a tragedy, a lot of times there is a good result that comes from it in the end, and that laws can be changed because of stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has.
Yes,
it has. I just didn't want to ruin the ending.
Yeah. Sorry,
I don't want to give away too much. That's okay. That's all right. That's what we do. We ruin the ending.
Yeah, so when Shirley was arrested in Newfoundland, amazingly, a deal had already been in place, basically, in the courts, in which she was to turn in her passports, sign in once a week at the police station, promise not to leave Newfoundland, good old, I promise I won't leave, and avoid contact with friends and family of the late Andrew Bagby. So people like the Bagbys, Andrew's parents, avoid contact with them, don't leave, and promise, to stay good. Don't do anything like this again. And basically, you can walk the streets
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen?
Right. We would see this time and time again throughout this case. It's enraging.
It really is. It really to see the justice system fail someone to this extent. It was surprising to me, and I've seen it over and over again in the cases that we've studied. But this was just appalling in so many ways, and then just the way the documentary
Unfolds.
Expounded on all of the flaws.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying of it. So it just really brought it to your attention, and it's hard to miss.
And them letting her out would get a whole lot worse because everything changed following this latest her getting out of jail. Because a press conference would be held in which Shirley stated that she was 4 months pregnant with Andrew's baby, the man that she had murdered in cold blood. She had his baby inside of her, and this changed everything for David and Kathleen Bagby. Obviously, they were now going to be grandparents as they always wanted to be, and there was nothing in the world more important to them after finding out this news than making sure that they won custody of that child. And did not let this child be raised by the evil woman that had murdered their child. They sold everything that they had and used all of their savings to move to Newfoundland and fight a custody battle against this woman. And right away when they moved to Newfoundland, they became pillars in the community, and they made so many friends. There was people from Newfoundland that were in the documentary that were laughing like, these people come here, and they had immediately within like 6 months had more friends than we'd had after growing up here and living here our whole lives. They were just that type of people. They were magnetic.
They were magnetic. Good word, man. That's the only way to describe them. They ooze genuine goodness. They just had good intentions, you know?
Yeah.
Logical people as well.
Yeah. And so they get there, and their whole plan, their hope is that, you know, the baby will be born, and Shirley will be extradited to America. She'll, you know, get sentenced. The trial will happen, and she'll be charged with murder for killing their son, Andrew Bagby. And they'll have this grandchild, and it'll be like, you know, if it's a boy, it'll be like raising Andrew all over again. And there'll be some good that came out of this whole thing. Of course, it's never that simple, you know, when we're doing a case like this.
Of course not.
Yeah. So
we're only like halfway through. So
yeah. So Shirley's she's there. She's awaiting extradition to face the charges. But in hearing after hearing, the extradition got pushed back further and further. And by July 18th, 2002, when baby Zachary Andrew Turner was born, Shirley was still awaiting extradition, and she gets to just, you know, be a mom to this young boy that she had, you know, birthed, and the father was the man that she had murdered. And she just gets to live on her life waiting to be extradited, and it just seems to never be coming. It just seems to. Her lawyer is very good at postponing these things, and now with her having a baby, that's just all the more ammunition for them to use to push back the extradition. You know, I'm sure she loved when she found out she was pregnant, because it was like, ooh, I can use this to stay out of prison, basically.
Oh, of course, and more sympathy. I mean, who's going to get more sympathy than, you know, a 40-year-old woman who just had a baby in prison? I mean, she probably doesn't look like someone who could kill somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of that helped her a lot in this situation, and some of the judges that she got as well.
It didn't seem like through the early hearings in Newfoundland about, you know, regarding her extradition, was there very much evidence presented. You know, you eventually see she gets arrested again, and I think that's after they found a lot. They heard more of what she had done, and they were presented with more evidence that proves that she was the person that killed Andrew Bagby. I think this whole time they didn't realize what they had. Maybe they assumed she was innocent, or for whatever reason.
Yeah, or maybe
they were just buying her act. You know,
self-defense. They could have thought it was self-defense.
Yeah, who knows what they were feeding them? What she was feeding them. She's very manipulative.
Helpless mother fighting back.
And her lawyer seemed like a real scumbag, and he would end up getting charged with some stuff later on. So we know for a fact he was a scumbag.
Yeah, he's a Better Call Saul.
Yeah. So when young Zachary was born on July 18th, 2002, Shirley would make the Bagbys, Zachary's grandparents, view the boy through the glass, not let them see him. And when the Bagbys, knowing their only current chance to have a place in Zachary's life was to work with Shirley, the woman who had murdered their son, in family court,
torture,
and fight for visiting time, and the measly time they could get with him was 1 hour a week. supervised time per week, 1 hour. And Shirley would even basically start accusing them after their 1 hour visits of keeping Zachary longer than the hour, which was basically implicating the visitation supervisor as well, because there was a supervisor there. So if they did anything, and Shirley accuses them of that, she's basically accusing the supervisor of misconduct as well.
And that is one thing that the Bagbys made sure
they were actually excited about that. They're like, look, we're seeing now there's proof she's a psycho. Like, she's clearly lying because we've had a supervisor here the whole time. So how could we have done anything?
Right. But even going forward from here, they make sure that they have some sort of mediator between them and Shirley all of the time. And I think that is crucial. That was a really good move on them, because she was looking for any window. And if you don't have a non-biased witness there, and the Bagby's are also very clever in that they recorded every conversation they had with her. Like they made sure that if she ever said anything, they had evidence to the contrary to prove she was lying. Yep.
So
that was smart, because she was looking for any reason.
They hated this woman, as if she had killed their son, because she did.
Because she did. I was like, wait.
I was like, what can I compare, how much they hate her to? Like, oh, well, if you killed my son, I hate you pretty much. That's pretty much how much they hated her.
I don't know how you could get a lot worse than that.
Right.
Yeah, their only son as well.
Yeah, and so yet month after month passed, and Shirley and her legal team managed to find more legal speed bumps to delay the extradition. Finally, on November 14th, 2002, Shirley was arrested and held in custody until she could be extradited to the U.S. to face trial. And this was when evidence had finally been presented during these hearings that convinced the judge that she was in fact guilty of this crime, and must have thought, wow, we've had her walking the streets this whole time with the baby of the man that she murdered. And it's clear now that she did in fact murder this man and shot him 5 times. Maybe we should get her off the streets. But that wouldn't last long yet again in this, disgusting case.
We just want to check in with her. We just bring her in for a quick conversation. We just want to make sure get a quick upgrade on that.
Let's tell
promise,
her she was naughty,
and we'll
make her promise not to do this. Say you're sorry. Say you're sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe even get it in writing, and then we'll pop her back out there. She should be good to go and raise a baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But the Bagbys, upon hearing this, that she was arrested and that she wouldn't get out until until she was extradited. And then once she was extradited to the U.S., she was surely to be found guilty. And this was it. This is what they were waiting for. This was supposed to be the end. They were awarded full custody of Zachary, as they had hoped, as long as Shirley was in jail. And part of their custody was unfortunate in that they had to have a phone call with Shirley every day for 30 minutes or something, and let her talk to Zachary in her fake bullshit. She would be like, "Hey, Zachary, how you doing? Mommy loves you. Mommy loves you. You're a great little pawn for my schemes. I love you. You great little keeping me out of prison, baby. I love you.
You little gold baby.
Yeah.
Gonna help me
Yeah.
finance.
Remember, she had 3 kids with three different men prior to having this baby, and it doesn't seem like they were in her lives. I don't think she was a stellar mother. I think she was the type of person that used kids to her advantage in situations and was not warm or loving towards them at all.
No, she used them as leverage pawns.
Yeah, she was a
paychecks.
fucking sociopath.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, as we alluded to, she would be out of jail, and it would be an absolute nightmare yet again for the Bagbys. They thought this whole thing was over. They were getting Zachary, and the evil woman could not, lay fingers on him again. However, on January 10th, 2003, the unthinkable happened. Shirley was released from jail again. They had lied when they said that she would remain in jail until she was extradited. Shirley was very clever. However, she was out of money and out of an attorney at the time. So she wrote to the judge and asked how to write up an appeal because she didn't have an attorney to help her do it. The judge had his secretary write up a response with instructions on how to write the appeal in a manner that might get her out. She did just that. She followed the instructions, wrote up an appeal, and got one hell of a judge as far as she was concerned. A judge that when the Bagbys walked into the court for this appeal hearing, right away they said, we knew when we saw this judge, and she was basically just having a good old time with Shirley before they got there, laughing it up and, just like old pals. This judge, Gail Welsh, for whatever reason, took very lightly to Shirley and basically let her out. She said that in her opinion, Shirley's offense was personal in nature, not aimed at the general public. She was not a threat to the public, and therefore she should be released. She simply made Shirley promise to behave and not flee Newfoundland, and released her out into the streets of Newfoundland again, and basically gave her baby Zachary back, full custody.
Yep. All that checks out.
Unbelievable.
That's Newfoundland law right there. All that checks out, man. That's good.
Unbelievable,
Let
man.
her out.
I mean, I feel like we're really crapping on Newfoundland. I'm hoping they've cleaned up, the kind of whatever they had going on in their courts at this time back in 2001, 2002, 2003.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
But this is wow.
It's unbelievable.
But
it really is unbelievable.
This is a lesson learned, though. People heads roll for this shit. Though.
Yes.
Heads roll for this
and
shit.
And they needed to. They fucking needed to.
Yes.
So this judge lets her out on these, pretenses that, this was a personal attack on a person. And since when does that grounds for release of a person? If I perpetrate an attack on my wife, let's say, that's a personal attack. I may or may not be a threat to the general public. It might have just been my beef with her. I should still go to prison for the rest of my life. 100%.
Absolutely.
And who's to say you're not going to get a personal beef with someone right now? You walk out the door and someone flips you off, and next thing you know, you kill them. That's a personal attack, but it's also aimed at the general public. Her grounds for releasing her were so absurd and ridiculous. At the time, Shirley had 8 people on active restraining orders against her. Her ex-boyfriend had followed a report that she had threatened to commit suicide on his front door. And while in jail, she had a report in that she had tried to stab another inmate with a fork. This is who we're talking about, is not a threat to the general public. Oh, and she had shot her ex-boyfriend 5 times, by the way.
Right. Don't forget about that.
Yeah.
And all this was all like recent. This was all current.
Yes.
This is not like stuff in her past. This is like stuff that should have came up like red flags immediately upon her being booked.
Should have been looked at in her appeal hearing. Like, well, you did try to stab an inmate with a fork.
Right.
You have all these restraining orders out against you, and there's a bunch of evidence that proves that you shot your ex-boyfriend 5 times, the father of your son. So
right. It's like the judge only read the appeal and that's it. Like, she didn't look at anything else. She only read,
for whatever reason,
what Shirley
just
wrote.
Liked Shirley for
Right?
some reason. I don't know what that's about.
I guess.
It's insanity.
Oh, man.
It's absolute insanity to give that baby back to this murderer. Absolute insanity. It's bad enough she's walking the streets, but you give this innocent child back to her, and she is clearly a dangerous person.
Yeah, it's inexcusable.
Yeah. So with Shirley out again, she was given full custody of Zachary again, and the Bagbys were back to fighting for, scraps, just trying to see Zachary as much as they could, which at this point became a 3-day-a-week, 3-hour visit schedule. So they could see him for 9 hours a week at best. And at this point, this was all on Shirley's terms, and she made it very awkward in that at this point, she made it to where their visits were with her. When they did anything with Zachary, she was present. If they went to the pool with Zachary, she was there swimming with them, which is very, eerie when you think about how this case ends.
Well, because for some reason, Lauren, she was worried that they might have bad things to say about her. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, my God.
What would David and Kathleen
I'm worried about what you're saying to young Zachary, like maybe that I'm a murderer that killed his daddy.
Yeah, you could be putting crazy things in his head. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so imagine having to hang out with the woman that killed your son just so that you could see your grandson. Shirley would even goat them out of money, calling them and basically saying, like, I don't know if I can feed Zachary or I don't have any diapers. And they would basically say, look, we will drop off food and diapers right now. He will not go unfed. He will not, have dirty diapers. That is not going to happen. They were there for him every step of the way, being the great people that they were and caring for Zachary more than anything in the world that was left after their son was taken.
He was their world now, man. It refocused.
Yep.
Yeah, these people needed that. They needed that. They needed to care for someone. It was like it really was their purpose.
But one thing became a big problem regarding the Bagbys as far as Shirley was concerned, and that was her jealousy and her ego. One thing that really had been bothering her was that every time she was with the Bagbys, with young Zachary, with her son, when the choice was given to Zachary between her and his grandma, Kathleen Bagby, he would choose Kathleen every time. Every time because she was
Genuine love.
there was genuine love because he could sense the warmth coming from Kathleen and that he really loved her and the coldness coming from his mother.
Absolutely.
Yep. And
Babies know that
really
stuff, man.
drove Shirley crazy. And you know how she gets when she's crazy.
Yeah, murderous.
Yeah. So the next hearing for extradition was set for September 25th, 2003. The Bagbys were hoping that this was going to be it. But, of course, they had thought that before. They had thought that they had already won before. And this hearing was set for what would have been Andrew's 30th birthday, coincidentally, September 25th, 2003. This was the day the Bagbys were waiting for. They were hoping she would be sent to America, found guilty. Once again, they were hoping for this. And once again, they would be disappointed. And this time it would be absolute heartbreak once again for them.
How much?
Yeah.
How much can these people take, man?
This part of the documentary, when I watched it, I went into it cold. I didn't know anything. I just heard this documentary, Dear Zachary, was good. It was a good true crime documentary. I went into it not knowing a fucking thing, watched it, and as it unfolded, this part blindsided me like a fucking M. Night Shyamalan movie. I didn't see this coming. I think you guys probably see this coming. We've alluded to it enough, but I just didn't expect it. This part I was just bawling. So on August 18th, 2003, this would be a week before the hearing that would potentially send her to America to face charges. Shirley strapped young Zachary to her chest and jumped into the Atlantic Ocean with the 13-month-old Zachary in a murder-suicide. They would be found.
After giving them both sleeping pills.
She had given him sleeping pills, and supposedly he was asleep when she jumped in. Nonetheless, she killed this baby and herself out of a final act of extreme selfishness once again. David and Kathleen were obviously just beyond comprehension and just devastated once again. And there's moments in this documentary that are just so real from David Bagby where you just feel him, man, where he's just like, Kathleen's bawling her eyes out and just inconsolable. Yeah. And he's like, you see what this fucking bitch did to us. Like, if I could strangle her right now, I would. I should have killed her. There's times where they had thought of ways to get young Zachary away from her, but there was just not many options other than him killing her.
For the worst.
The only option was David Bagby waiting for Kathleen to go to sleep so that she wasn't implicated in it, sneaking out of the house and going and killing her. That was the only option he could see, because if he tried to run away with the baby, there was just too many obstacles there. They would have to hide out forever, change their names. The baby, Zachary would never get to know any of his friends or family, anything like that.
Right.
They were left with no options, and the system failed them so hard. Failed young Zachary so hard. The system killed that baby, 100%. And they would later basically admit to it. And things would change thanks to this case, but it's unfortunate that it had to happen like that.
Absolutely. And it just, God, man, it's just like you said before, the overwhelming selfishness. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to be alive anymore, at least let them take care of your baby. But the fact that they wanted to take Zachary
she couldn't stand the fact that Zachary would be happy with Kathleen Bagby, more happy than he would have been with her. She couldn't stand that.
Yeah, that. And maybe she just wanted to hurt them one more time.
Yeah, I think that's also what it is. Yep.
Because, oh my God, man, the damage that she done. And that's like one of the things that David talks about. He's like, you took my son, you took our grandson.
And now look at what we're left with, as he's sitting next to Kathleen just in a heap, just bawling.
Right. Imagine the strain and that it's put on their relationship and their quality of life. How do you get up and go hunky dory? Everything's great.
Yeah.
After going through something like this.
Yeah.
And these were, like you said, salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
And just horrible things happened to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously David and Kathleen Bagby were left dumbfounded and grief-stricken. Kurt Kenne's his attempts to arrange interviews with the prosecutors and judges, Kurt being the man who made this documentary, they were rebuffed. Every time he called and tried to talk to anybody that basically let this happen in the justice system in Newfoundland, he was turned down every time. They realized that they had fucked up big time. And things would change over this, because this would set the Bagbys off on another mission. There's just one thing after another where they thought that, things were finally going to stop, and they continued to get worse and worse, tragedy after tragedy, all because the system they were hoping the whole time, like David Bagby said at one point, he's like, I just thought that this doesn't happen. The system is going to do what it's supposed to do, and we'll get Zachary and she'll be in prison, but they just continued to fail them. And so distraught over Zachary's death and outraged at the Canadian legal system's failures to protect the child, David and Kathleen mounted a campaign to reform the county's bail laws. A panel convened by Newfoundland's Ministry of Justice agreed, releasing a report stating that Zachary's death had been preventable and that the government's handling of Turner's case had been inadequate. So Shirley Turner, psychiatrist, would end up being found guilty of misconduct and having helped her post bail. And the director of Newfoundland's Child Welfare Agency resigned. Remember her psychiatrist was really playing a role in this. He had put up the bail for her, that $65,000 initially. They got her out and walking the streets.
Sketch.
Yeah, super sketch. Like, what was up with him and the judges and her lawyer and the judges? Like, there seemed to be some kind of insider shit going on.
Yeah, I don't think he got a whole lot out of that psychiatrist either. In the documentary, I know he got him in front of the camera a few times, but he never really said anything at all, really. Yeah. I think most of the time he was like packing his stuff up to leave, so I don't know if maybe he ambushed him and the guy wouldn't give an interview and he was leaving or what. But that was, super shady about that guy. He was like, I got to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah. Here's how moving this film was, Dear Zachary. Scott Andrews was a member of Parliament in Canada, and he, after watching a screening of the film Dear Zachary, presented a bill on March 23rd, 2010, called Bill C-464, known as the Zachary Bill. And it basically, the goal of the bill was to protect the children and force judicial decision makers to keep the safety of children in mind during bail hearings and in custody disputes, particularly when a child is in the custody of someone who has been charged with a serious crime. It just seems obvious. Like, that should have already been in there. You know what I mean? Like, someone who kills someone shouldn't, if they do happen to get out on bail, shouldn't be given a child back, like, until this whole thing is settled, until they are proven innocent in the court of law, like, until they've had a trial and they're acquitted, you just can't give a kid back to them. You just can't do that. So, the Zachary, or the Bagbys were just on a mission, and they made a lot of change because of this. 7 years after Andrew Bagby's death and over 2 years after the film was released, Zachary's bill was signed into law, protecting children from these, violent offenders who get out on bail, thankfully. And David Bagby would go on to write a best-selling book about his family ordeal during the saga. It's called Dance with the Devil, a memoir of murder and loss. And I can't think of someone who could discuss loss more than him. Maybe his wife, that's about it. But
yeah, I'm definitely going to check that book out.
Yeah, it's available in Audible form as well, by the way.
Oh, so, right on. Even better. Even better. Have you checked it out? How long is it? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't check the hours on it, but
right on. Just curious if it's abridged or not. Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, if you do happen to be on trial and you're sweating up a storm, you could smell better for the courtroom and maybe have a better chance of getting off if you were wearing some Oh My Gaia.
Dude, that's our sponsor. Dude, good segue. Oh My Gaia, an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients. And guys, there's tons of scents to choose from. Lauren, do you have the scents?
I got them all right here, baby.
Let's hear them.
First one, unscented. So,
no scent.
If you're trying to go hunting or you just, you're not meshing, you just like the natural smell of yourself.
Yeah,
you can go with unscented and just stay that old, old flavor.
Yeah, maybe you got some good musk or some good pheromones, Just let those babies roar. But you don't.
Maybe you are your own scent and you need to like bottle that up and send it to Wendy so she can create your scent.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's going to be in such high demand. It's like Sex Panther,
Oh, 60% of the time it works every time.
Hey, that's right.
That's right.
So we got unscented vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, lilac, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack, honeysuckle, flower power, Egyptian musk, pure, bergamot amber, fireside, sweet pea, sailor, oh baby, pear, Idaho, barbershop, and our favorite because it's got our face on it and it smells tremendous, true crime pine.
Of course. Guys.
Yeah, we got our own deodorant. That's right. Suck up on it.
If you, but don't really. It's not edible. But True Crime Find is a great place to start.
It's non-toxic though. It probably wouldn't kill you.
Yeah,
but don't do it. It's not recommended. It's not what it's for. It goes in your pits.
That's right. It goes in your pits, guys. And because you guys are True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the word creeper for 15% off. CREEPER. And that gets you 15% off at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram or ohmygaia.com. That's OHMYGAIA.com. Do it, guys. You will not regret it.
No, you will not. Okay.
Right.
Let me see.
Reviews.
We got some ratings and reviews to talk about and give shout outs to some people here. We got Ojo in the U.S. said, Lady Creeper, 5 stars. You guys are awesome.
Hell yeah, Ojo.
Thank you, Ojo. And then we got SKSLSKLAKAA in U.S. said, Crimes and Cakes. Hello from Maryland. Great podcast. Great banter. Listening all day at work as a cake decorator. Who doesn't love crime and cake? I would love to go to Maryland and try your cake. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Then we got Domestic Sparkle in Great Britain. Said 5-star podcast. Absolutely love you guys. Love the banter, the music, intro for the story. You're both analyzing and love your chemistry. Been listening to True Crime Podcast the last couple of years. After leaving the police force and investigating true crime every day, stumbled across you guys. Thank you very much, Domestic Sparkle.
Wow. Thank you.
And we got Haley Cohens in the U.S. said, I guess this person's name's Melissa. I don't know. 5 stars. You guys are awesome. Listen to you every night, especially when I want to escape into something else and can close my eyes and just listen. You make the episodes come out. You can't make the episodes come out fast enough for me.
Oh, thanks, Melissa.
How do you feel about that? That we're like, people are falling asleep to our voices.
I think that's okay. I think we kind of have soothing voices, and sometimes we're just rambling. Maybe it's a lot of people listen to them over again, so they don't really need to know the story.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. A play's a play, right? Download's download. Hey, let it play on repeat. Start a True Crime Guys playlist. Take a nap.
Right.
I'm cool with that. Right. Yeah. And then if you binge all those episodes, then you can go check out Patreon, right? Patreon.com/True Crime Guys.
You're jumping ahead. We got 2 more people to thank for writing reviews real quick. Sorry.
You were letting me talk a lot, so I thought you needed a segue. I was going to help you out.
No, man, I was just letting you talk for once.
Darn, I just wasted a perfectly good segue. That's fine. Go ahead with your reviews. Let's get everybody.
All right. We got Kiera Ali in the U.S. said, my new favorite, 5 stars, fairly new listener. I can say officially this is my new favorite true crime podcast. Thank you, Kiera Ali. You have great taste. And then we got Rachel Misha in the U.S. said, obsessed, started a few months back, and I'm already caught up. Can't wait for more. Well, you are committed because that's a lot of episodes in a few months.
Yes,
it's a lot of hearing us idiots talk.
Right on. I'm sorry.
All right, now you can do your segue over to the Patreon, baby.
Oh, yes, patreon.com/True Crime Guys. For just $2 a month, you guys can get access to that 1 week that you miss us every month. That every 4 weeks.
Like last week?
Where's True Crime Guys? They just fucking fall off the map. They fucking slack us. Didn't put out an episode. We did. It's on Patreon. Patreon.com/True Crime Guys. And at the $5 tier, you guys will also get an episode from us on Fridays. It's called Just the Banter, and it is where we just banter. It's right there in the name. That's a $5 tier, and you also get a gold Creeper Van sticker, very prestigious.
Very prestigious.
It is.
It actually, you can take that to the bank, and it is backed by gold, that sticker. But why would you do that? Because it's actually it's gaining in value more than gold. So there's no point in doing so.
That's right. The value is just going up constantly, and it's the only place you can get it on Patreon.
That's right.
And also, we have a $10 tier. Guys, if you're on the $10 tier and you like to have a Zoom call with us, hit us up. We prefer to do these on Friday afternoons, but we can work around some schedules. So hit us up, guys, if you're on the $10 tier, creep of the crop. But
That's
you also
right.
get the sticker and of Just the Banter on the $10 tier and all that good stuff. But if you're already...
Last week on our Patreon exclusive episode, we did Earl Nelson, the Gorilla Killer.
We did, the Gorilla Killer.
2-hour episode on a crazy serial killer you've probably never heard of, but...
From the early 1900s.
Pretty fascinating. Yeah, one of the earliest in America.
Absolutely. And if you've already heard of them and you're already caught up on Patreon, check out our other show, Strange and Unexplained, wherever you listen to podcasts.
The only Strange and Unexplained podcast in the world.
Right. I'm sure. I don't think there's any other ones because, I mean, why would someone create one after it? They should just Google the name and then see that there is one. So they're probably not. So the Strange and Unexplained, guys, if you search that, it's probably the only one. That's it. True Crime Guys.
It's got Velociraptor in the logo.
Yeah.
Just so you know it's the right one.
Oh, we just updated the logos.
Yes.
We just updated the logos. So, guys, go check out our new logo facelifts. We got the classic TCG TV logo for our now True Crime Guys podcast official logo. And then check out the new Strange and Unexplained. I think you'll be able to find it. They look similar, right? They look like they're related.
Shout out to our sponsor, Canva. This is an unofficial advertisement for them.
It is.
Michael loves their app so much and creating things on there that he's just been making new logos and all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't checked out Canva, check it out. This is a free app for them.
And listen, guys, go check out our Instagram if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Maybe, I know it takes iTunes a day or two to populate the new logos and whatnot. So go check out our Instagram. I should have them posted on there. Let me know what you think. To me, they're obviously a better quality because I just have more tools with Canva. It really is. I highly recommend it. Even the free Canva is phenomenal. It's better than whatever you're using right now, and it's more user-friendly. So,
yep.
But, okay, anything else? Merch, truecrimeguys.threadless.com.
All the links are below. All the links are below. That's about it. We'll see you guys for a free episode next week. Keep creeping. Have a good week.
Keep creeping, guys.
True Crime Guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder. True Crime Guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder charming.